What's the deal with NDAs for freelancers? Coming up. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming back to the channel once again. We recently reached 26,000 subscribers, so let's get closer to 30. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, make sure to scroll down, like the video if you like it, and subscribe to the channel. Today I'm going to address finally a very heavily requested topic. It's NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. Now, obviously, this is a very legal and heavy subject, right? But I'm going to make it as light and easy to understand as possible. So first of all, let's get the definition out of the way. What is an NDA? Nearly all businesses have confidential information. Confidential meaning information that should not go to the public. Protecting that information is key, especially if you're working on projects that are unreleased or if you have heavy competitors in the field, you don't have a monopoly position, then it's very important. And an NDA does exactly that. It protects sensitive information. So the purpose of an NDA, I would describe it as it defines which parties and how these parties are allowed to share what information, and in turn or at the same time define the penalties that apply if this bond is broken. So if you are working for a company, you have a lot of access to their information, right? They share a lot with you, especially if you are teasing unreleased things, if you are discussing a bit like projects that come out in a few years, then it's really important that you keep this to yourself. And of course, if a company is working with a freelancer, they don't have the relationship that you have with an employee. But even there, you can have NDAs as an employee. That's also not out of the question. But as a freelancer, it makes even more sense, or for the company, it makes even more sense to send them out to freelancers. And normally, I say normally here with big capital letters, this is all an NDA does, right? But you still have to be very careful because sometimes they go above and beyond to get as much information and restrictions into an NDA as possible. That's why it's very important to make sure that you really read it before you sign it. Anything in life, before you sign it, please read it. If drafted properly, signing an NDA should not cause any negative harm for you. But more often than you think, freelancers sign their life away by not actually reading the NDAs. And that's what I want to really give you on your path here with this video. Read the contract, because sometimes I've seen that before, an NDA can kind of include also a non-compete agreement. That's actually something else, but it can be embedded into an NDA. So if you don't read it and you just sign anything, it can prevent you from working with certain client at certain times on certain projects even. For example, an agency might bar you to actually work with an end client of theirs through another provider. And that's not really what you want, right? Unless you actually are okay with that and the relationship you have with the client and the end client is so big or good enough that it makes sense for you to be exclusive through this agency, then you can do it, but just be aware of it. For me, for example, I have this in one case for one big tech company, worldwide tech company. I work through an agency, and every year they send me a non-compete agreement. I have to sign and I have to state that I only work for this end client through this provider, and I'm barred from working with anyone else for this end client. And that doesn't only include language services, that includes everything, right? So be careful with that. So once you read it through and you are happy with everything, you can sign it. But if you're not happy, don't be afraid to go back to the client and either talk with a colleague of yours, talk with maybe someone on LinkedIn. You can reach out, someone that works in the same field. Is this normal? Should this be in an NDA? And also don't be afraid to go back to the client, say, hey, this clause, this paragraph is not for me. Because sometimes, mostly these are based on templates, right? So sometimes there are paragraphs in there that have no relevancy, and it's good to point that out so you can, cross it out and then sign it. So this clause is actually not viable. One thing I want to mention that also goes out to agencies, if someone from an agency is watching, don't send NDAs too early. It doesn't make sense, right? Sometimes I get emails, like first contact emails from a company or an agency, and they say, if you want more information, please sign the attached NDA. No, that doesn't make sense, right? That's not how it works. An NDA is designed to protect both parties once you decided to collaborate. That's when it makes sense to sign an NDA. But everything beforehand, like the price negotiations and everything, that's not protected by an NDA. That doesn't make sense. Also, that would bar me from then talking about anything else from that moment on. So I can't talk about any of my projects then with someone else. So don't do that. So agencies don't send NDAs too early, and freelancers don't sign them too early. The first email should not have an NDA attached. As a freelancer, almost all NDAs that you will sign are unilateral NDAs. That's why I only focus on this specific type. A unilateral NDA is meaning that one party, so the client, is sharing information with another party, i.e. you as the service provider, to keep it private. So you are not actually sharing information to the client. That has to be kept private. That would be a bilateral, but you have a unilateral agreement, so they send you stuff that you have to protect. Be aware that there are heavy penalties if you actually break an NDA and they come after you. So really make sure to read it. Also read the penalties. Talk with colleagues, talk with friends. Is this normal? You can also reach out to me if I have people reaching out to me saying, they want me to do this. Is this normal? And I say, no, this is a scam. Be very careful. Even though it sucks to read, these documents are usually 10 plus pages, right? But it's really important that you know exactly what you're allowed to talk about, right? Are prices included? Are negotiations included? Is author rights included? Are just generally projects? Are you allowed to talk to your family, to your friends, to your colleagues about the specific project you're working on? Are you allowed to post about it online or not? These are very important things to know about, especially if you have a side project like mine now with YouTube, and I'm sharing on social media things, right? You really have to be aware which things are visible in the pictures, in the videos. It can have dire consequences, definitely. Sometimes this can be frustrating, these NDA clauses, when you're building a portfolio or when you do something like me with social media, because there are tons and tons of amazing clients and projects that I've worked on that I will never ever be allowed to talk about. Sometimes I see amazing things on TV or on YouTube or whatever, on big websites that I've actually worked on or that I've even written myself, but I'm not allowed to talk about it ever. So that can be frustrating, because of course I want to build a portfolio, and for my potential clients that would be amazing to show that highly visible content, but that's part of the deal, and it's definitely still worth it, because being able to be part of such amazing big things that actually get published outweighs the negative impact an NDA has, right? It was still amazing to be part of this, of course. Memory card was full, sorry for that. So just in conclusion, don't be afraid of NDAs, don't be afraid of the big legal capacities that they have. You will come across them, they are normal in the industry. Just make sure you read them, make sure you know exactly what's in there in terms of liability for you. Make sure there is no non-compete agreement in there, unless you're willing to give up that freedom, like I mentioned before. And once you agree with it, once you sign it, make sure to print it out, sign it in person, and actually put it away in a folder. I know I'm very Swiss in that regard. I want to have everything very organized, but I really think it is a legal document. You should have it filed properly. Even though you are most likely signing it online, don't think just because you use DocuSign to sign something, it doesn't feel real, right? Just because you don't sit in a notary's office, it's still a legal document that you're signing. So it still has the same value, the same prestige as if you signed a contract at the notary. You are signing a legal document. So I have my folder there with all my contracts, all my NDAs, all my cooperation agreements. So I know exactly what to look up, when to look up. If I want to publish something from a client, I check if it's allowed or not. So I would really urge you to start that from the very beginning, because it's not a lot of work, right? It's just print it, sign it, send it back, and then file it, and that's done. Thanks for watching this week's episode. Quick shout out to all the channel members here on screen. You guys rock. Thank you so much for the support, and I see you next Monday with the next one. Bye bye.